תראה לי את הדרך לשוב אליך, גם אם קשה תהיה, לשוב להיות בגזרותיך. הדרך בסופה אחיה, אז אשוב ואתן לך את חיי, כל פינה שבליבי את נפשי, שם אתה לי בקרבי. אז אשוב ואתן לך את חיי, כל פינה שבליבי את נפשי, שם אתה לי בקרבי. אתה שם איתי, רבות הדרכים אותה ניסיתי, וכולן הלכתי טועה. רבים הקולות ליל הקשבתי, אך כל אחד בי בוער. אז אשוב ואתן לך את חיי, כל פינה שבליבי את נפשי, שם אתה לי בקרבי. אז אשוב ואתן לך את חיי, כל פינה שבליבי את נפשי, שם אתה לי בקרבי. אתה שם איתי, אתה שם איתי. אשוב ואתן לך את חיי, כל פינה שבליבי את נפשי, שם אתה לי בקרבי. אז אשוב ואתן לך את חיי, כל פינה שבליבי את נפשי, שם אתה לי בקרבי. אתה שם איתי, אתה שם איתי.
on Shabbat. We celebrated Shabbat. We went to a Shabbat service earlier at the beach with the Highway group, and we were discussing our plans for Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, which will be here in Hawaii from Monday evening around sundown till Tuesday at about sundown as well. So that is a no work day, and the Most High will bless those of us who have decided to follow his commandments first beyond the commandments of the world, and to just honor him in that way. And to me, it's kind of a sad day because it forces you to reflect back on everything that you've done in the past year that has been against his commandments. And we were discussing how the Israelites, they were commanded to do this, and for all future generations. So up until Judgment Day, we'll be observing this particular day. And it is feast season, so there's quite a few other feasts going on afterwards. We have Feast of Tabernacles coming up next week for an entire week long. But those are, you can work during Feast of Tabernacles, just especially not on the Shabbat days. So look forward to celebrating all those with you. Just as a reminder, we do not have class next weekend because we will be having our week of Shabbat as a ministry here. So you'll be on your own to celebrate Feast of Tabernacles, however you feel led to do. And if you have a fellowship to celebrate it with, great. We're planning to celebrate it with a fellowship group here in Hawaii. So we're just so happy to have you guys here on the show. We really missed Digital Readers Club. I was so sad. Noticed that Justin put up an announcement saying that Digital Readers Club is postponed until next weekend. And so hopefully we will see you guys then at Digital Readers Club. We might be at the beach because we plan to do some camping. So we might not have any... sorry, you guys are throwing me off. We might... I can't remember what I was saying now. So we might not have any... And I can't remember the rest of my sentence because these guys are waving at themselves. Anyway, we just are so glad that you guys are here. We have some exciting teachings coming up today. I'm going to be teaching first on the lost continent of Mu. I did like an introduction to this teaching about a month ago, or I think it was before we went on our trip. So yeah, about a month and a half ago, I think I had the first teaching. If you'd like to go back and review that one. I believe that our video was, we were supposed to have an interview with Jeremiah Skiba and Jake Grant, but that was not able to happen, so I decided to teach on a book I was reading about the lost continent of Mu. So first, I'd like to open up with prayer. Noble is on his way here. He asked if I could just open up and just start teaching while he is preparing to come on and give his teaching for the second half of the show. So let's open up with prayer, and then we'll move into prayer requests. If you guys do have prayer requests, and if you're in the live chat, you can send it. Kaylee is moderating today, and so you can go in and say hi to her in the live chat. And please put your prayer requests starting out with caps so that she can see it a little better, and then she'll pass the information on to me. So that would be great. So let's pray together. Dear Abba, we thank you so much for bringing everyone here to fellowship with us today and to learn with us. We just give you all the thanks and praise here for our online family, as well for our family in person. And we just ask that you bring those here who need to hear this message today. And we just ask that you open everyone's hearts and minds to your Ruach HaKodesh, who can guide us into all truth. And we just love and praise you, Abba God, and we thank you so much for sending your son, Yeshua, to atone for our sins and to give us a chance of salvation. And we just ask that you guide us as we continually work out our salvation on a daily basis, and that you bring to light the sins that need to be confessed before your throne, so that we can be forgiven and the slate can be wiped clean, so that they're not shown in public on Judgment Day to everyone in the world. We just thank you so much that we have the blood of Yeshua to cover us, and that we have knowledge of your feasts now so that we're able to observe them as you commanded. We thank you, Father God, for all you've given us, all you've blessed us with. Please keep your protection on everyone here. And we thank you that you can hear our prayer requests that are coming up. And we just thank you so much that there's such prayer warriors here in this group that can adopt these prayer requests. We ask all this in Yeshua's name. And please have your hand on Isaac and Kaylee as they're dealing with the tech here. And have your hand on Noble as he is making his way here to give his message also. And please speak through me. We ask all this in Yeshua's name. Amen. Okay, so we're going to move into some prayer requests first. Oh, thank you. I think we're going to put the... I think before I read this, we're going to start with the prayer requests that are going to go up on the screen there. So thank you, Isaac. All right. So as I was mentioning before, we have the observance of Yom Kippur coming up here in Hawaii. I'm not sure what day you guys decide to observe it, but here in Hawaii we are observing it on Monday from 6 p.m. to Tuesday at 6 p.m. And if you are working, that would be a good day to speak with your boss at your work. And they usually would honor days off for religious reasons, even though we are not religious. We are just followers of the Most High God. So
that's a good excuse.
Yeah. Okay. So first prayer request. We've had quite a bit coming in. If you are not able to get into the live chat today to submit your prayer requests, where Kaylee could take them down, you can always send us prayer requests through email. You could find us at biblicalhebrewhawaii@gmail.com. And I usually check those emails. I try to at least two, 3 times a week. Sometimes I only get to it like once a week. We have a lot going on. As you'll see in the prayer requests, we are planning for a wedding, for those that you don't know. So not my wedding, for our son Isaac and his fiance, his lovely fiance here, Kaylee, who is moderating for us today. Thank you so much for all of our moderators. I believe Tammy's in the chat. Are there any other moderators there yet? Mankulas, hey, good to see you, brother. Mankulas. Kulas is brother, I believe, in Tagalog. Okay, so we have Derek. We need prayers for Derek. He is a student that is having some slow growth. This is a prayer request that was brought to our attention through email. So if you would like to adopt this prayer request, please do so. Prayers for Kaylee. She had a semi-surgical procedure yesterday that was pretty painful. And so continued prayer for her peace, healing, and health. Also for her mother, Leanne, to find a true companion. We were discussing this yesterday. Let's see. And Stevie sent in some prayer requests. Thank you, sister, sending your prayer requests via email and also in the live chat. Prayers for people in Lahaina. They're still going through some really traumatic times there as far as homelessness, just finding basic shelter, food, place to sleep, water, especially clean water. I believe that someone has donated quite a few water filters there because their water is just trash. I really feel for everyone in that area because it's kind of a similar side of the island as we live on here on Oahu on the west side. And it seems like there's always stuff that's going on when it comes to the locations of the indigenous people. Do we have another one come in? Okay. Also for Michelle, please pray for Michelle's, this just came in the live chat, Kaylee? Okay.
Yeah.
So please pray for Michelle's husband, her marriage and family. And thank you, Michelle, that Yah bless us all. We just, thank you guys. You can maybe add that to the list and we can give that to Noble to add to these for next week. So thank you guys for sending yours in. Let's go to the next one here. This one came via Sherry Papin for another ministry that is affiliated with Zen Garcia and Family's Ministry, for Shane and Jessica Knock, and I believe they're located in Australia or possibly New Zealand, but they do have an online ministry. Shane is currently paralyzed, and they were contacting us just for information because of Isaac's testimony. If you guys are not aware, I've written a book called A New Creation. It just was published several months ago, and it's the entire life story of my son Isaac and his journey through the foster care system, and then becoming a quadriplegic when he was 16 years old, and his almost full recovery. There's still a few little issues, but he's able to work, he's able to function, drive, the basic things, eat normally for the most part. And so that's his amazing testimony. But also for Shane, I got some more information from Jessica in a very detailed email. Thank you, Jessica, if you're watching, so I can know more of what's going on. Shane is still hospitalized at this time, but the paralysis was supposedly a result of something that just happened in his spine, not an injury, and he has a deteriorated piece of spine, and the medical system is attributing this deterioration to a cancerous growth. And so, of course, what does the medical system want to do immediately if they detect anything of that nature?
Chemo radiation.
Yeah, so they're not going to do either one of those that Isaac just mentioned. Praise Yah. And we're praying for a full recovery. I have sent them, because we do have a healing ministry here in Hawaii, but we work with patients that have had the same diagnosis, and we have quite an extensive plan for them, and we've had really, it's amazing to see people have full recoveries when they're diagnosed with stage 2 or 3 different types of cancer. I don't want to get censored, so I'm not going to talk about this too much, but if you would like more information, if you have a loved one who is willing to not follow the direction of the protocols by the American Medical Association and is looking for a natural healing, and also spiritual healing that would come along with it. We prefer to treat those who are true followers of the Most High God as Shane and Jessica are. And so if you know someone that's in that situation, you're more than welcome to refer them to me via email. So you can give them our email, and we're more than happy to help them. Okay, it's saying I need a Face ID to open this. Okay. Anyway, so
Wait,
next prayer request. Oh, okay. So, Truth Seeker, right? Okay, yes, thank you, sister. Prayers for the lost. Yes, so, yeah, there are a lot of lost people out there nowadays, and we really want to include them in our prayers, because it seems like there's a reason why the righteous who are in the last days are called the remnant, because there are so few people who are actually following the commandments of the Most High. It's so important to actively seek these people out in your community so you can have in-person fellowship. Of course, online with us, we love having you guys fellowship with us, but there's just something about in-person fellowship and being able to actually hug people that have the same beliefs as you do, or very similar at least. They're following the commandments in person. We have a request from Donna. She said to please pray for her son, Isaac. Oh, you also have a son, Isaac. Right on. In prayer for an exam, her partner for a prostate removal, and for mental health, and for her to have the strength to stand strong in their trials. Okay, yes, Donna, we will add you to the prayer list. Thank you for sending that in. Appreciate you, Donna. Let's see. Okay, so there's several, of course, you guys probably all know someone who has taken the hokey pokey, and we all in this family know quite a number of people, because I think the numbers here in Hawaii of those who have actually taken the snake bite are about 80% of the population here. And unfortunately, one of my best friend's fathers is in the hospital right now with complications from that. And of course, they're not going to say it's complications from this. Her name is Tracy, for her father, and for Stevie's brother, Wesley, also in a similar situation, having some heart issues. So if you guys could please adopt those prayer requests, that would be awesome. Luis and Hilda, I can't believe their baby is already going to be due next month, mid-October. So those of you who know Luis and Hilda, they're part of our ministry. Luis was a former Jewish rabbi who came out of all of that and now is a follower of the Most High God and Yeshua. So that's a total miracle right there, coming out of that religion, which is so similar to what we believe, but then the major parts, like not acknowledging that Yeshua was also Yah, and part of that whole Godhead, I guess you could call it. But now he does, so that's a total miracle. We're excited for their baby. Brianna Chavez, cousin, prayers for her cousin who has cancer. Tina, our friend that we met in Wisconsin, having eye surgery next week, I believe it is. For Nadine's husband, Travis, this is another friend in Wisconsin, having neck surgery next week. There's a lot of surgeries, it seems like, next week. For Robert, for his health and salvation, and for our friend's son, Xavier, who's been diagnosed with Lyme's disease and is having a bunch of joint pain and being treated by the Medical Association, as well as with natural remedies for that. And there's a high chance of recovery from that if you treat it immediately. So we're continuing prayer for him. One of my online friends, Michi, I believe she's in Australia as well. Her sister had kidney failure, but there's praise report with that. She came out of it and she is in recovery, but I'm not sure what's up with these Aussies. Is Adrian in the chat?
Yes.
Adrian, what's up with the Aussies? They want to diagnose, it seems like, everybody with cancer that's in the hospital. Even
Must
if it's
be
like,
from the hokey pokey.
well, even if it's like a spine issue and they didn't have the hokey pokey, like Shane Knock or my friend Michi's sister had kidney failure, nothing to do with the hokey pokey, and they're diagnosing her with some kind of cancer now, even though she had a full recovery from the kidney failure. So
It's in the water.
Oh,
It's in
boy.
The water.
anyway, prayers for my friend Michi's sister. They contacted me online and requested prayer and information about cancer treatment naturally. So for Christy Frost, if you're in the chat, Christy, we have you on our mind every week for your health, for your finances, and for your fur baby's health as well. For our friends here in Hawaii, Alfred and Annette, for them to be able to acquire this property that's right next door to them. And if you're watching, Kay and Grace, you guys know who you are. Reunification. My friend is in the process of adopting her cousin's child. For the past 6 years, it's been ongoing, but as we know, the state can really drag their feet with cases like this. So peace also for Kay and Grace as they are moving toward their reunification. Speaking of weddings, I mentioned it earlier, Isaac and Kaylee, for their progress, they're having premarital counseling with Noble and me. We're reading through a book called Love and Respect, and we just continue that their progress will continue.
Yes.
I just said continue twice there. Yeah, it's kind of nice it's refreshing to hear that a lot of the things we're reading in this counseling book, they've already been working on without even reading the book first. So it's it's kind of cool to see. We were praying for Noble's cat last week. He has a very swollen, infected paw, and it's healing. The infection is down. Hopefully his hair will grow back on the paw, and he's walking almost normally now. And for Noble, for those of you, I had to pray. This is a praise report as well. You guys have been praying for Noble, and I can tell because he's not walking like limping and barely able to move and not able to go up and down stairs very easily. His walking is almost back to normal. So thank you so much for praying for his knees and his lower back, and we'll just continue to pray for healing for him, because when he's down, that it affects all of us. So he's the head of the family, and it's really rough when he's not doing very well. He also had 2 teeth extracted on Monday. We had to go in for an emergency dental appointment, and the one of the teeth is 2 of his back molars. One tooth was so infected they had to remove it immediately, but the silver lining of that is he got his silver filling out as well.
Yay.
So, and a root canal. So
Yay.
he has no amalgam on that side of his mouth. I think he might have one left on the other side, but so he had 2 teeth extracted. He's still in recovery from that, so his talking is a little better. His face is still slightly sore, but thank you guys for praying for him. Yes?
So back to the Australia thing, Donna said so many men here now with prostate cancer.
Wow. That's just so, it's like so amazing how it just seems like there's a ton of other health issues that are coming from this hokey pokey thing, and I'm not sure what else, whatever they're putting in the water. If you guys don't have a water ionizer for alkaline water, I would highly recommend you get one. It's really helped me quite a bit with my healing as well. So yeah, good point. Thank you, Isaac. I think this is the end of okay. So that's the end of the prayer requests and praise reports. Again, if you guys have any that you'd like to add to that, please send it our way and we will add you to the list. Kaylee is very vigilant about taking notes over here. And I praise the Most High that you are doing a lot better. Yeah, she's a trooper.
Drink, I'm going to say something.
Okay.
So Tammy mentioned, she said, Luis got to have the baby on my oldest son's birthday, October 6th.
Oh, that's the due date.
Yeah.
That's her son's birthday. She's hoping.
Yeah.
Well, that almost happened, Tammy, with Ezra, from what I remember, Justin and Joy's baby. They almost had Ezra on your birthday, I think, right? I think that was. I remember she was like rooting to have Ezra on her birthday, for them to have Ezra on her birthday. So anyway, thank you guys. Isaac, could you help me with this? I need to transfer over to my photos and out of this whole thing for my teaching that's coming up. Thank you.
Let's see.
So yeah, the bride and groom are extremely busy preparing everything for their wedding, which is coming up November 11th here in Hawaii. There's several people from the mainland coming, some through our ministry, which is going to be exciting. We're going to be taking video footage to share with you that are not able to make it, as well as a bunch of photos. So we'll probably be sharing that maybe like a month after their wedding or so, when they have all their photos and everything together.
Is it in photos?
Yeah, it's in photos. So I'm going to be doing this teaching like I announced earlier. I'm going to continue my teaching, on the Lost Continent of Mu book that Zen recommended that I read, just because there's so many ties to Hawaii and the Polynesian islands from this book. And I enjoyed this book so much that I ordered a hardback leather-bound one with larger graphics that I'll be sharing with you guys. And this is on eBay. I think this copy that I got was like $28. This one was already falling apart. It was like obviously used. The cover was about to fall off, and the graphics were kind of hard to see, so we decided to order one. Now, just to keep in mind, the author of this book, James Charlesworth, is not a believer of the Most High. In fact, James is the opposite, all right? James is a Freemason. So it's interesting because, those who are in this particular cult, they worship these deities, and they worship, they know so much more than like the average person would know about this land. And so just keep that in mind as I'm teaching today and as I'm reading from this book. There's several, I can see why this book is not widely known, just because I'm sure a lot of this information they want to keep a secret, as well as they've changed some of the numbers as far as, he has all these estimates as to how old the earth is and how long ago the flood happened, and it doesn't coincide with the Bible or other extra biblical books. So we kind of want to just make sure that we have the discernment and pray, especially before we read into these books that are written by those who are not followers of the Most High. But that doesn't mean that that all the information we should just throw out. That we can just take the information that we can use and and just make sure we have the discernment. So I'm going to be reading, for those of you that have bought this book since the first time that I read from it, I'm going to be reading from chapter 1. This is Alpha, the beginning, but I'm going to be starting on page 15, and this is in the hardbound book. So this picture is actually on page 14, and you can see below there it says, Narayana, the seven-headed serpent, the symbol of the creator and creation. Okay, you guys should have like red flags going up all over the place when you see the description of this picture, okay? This is not our creator, right? This is not our creator. In fact, this is more similar to the seven-headed dragon that's mentioned in the book of Revelation that is connected to the Antichrist, not our creator, okay? Also, we'll see in some of the readings here, oh, Isaac, shucks. Do you mind putting this up there first? Okay. And then I'm going to have Isaac or Kaylee.
Scripture?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to have Isaac or Kaylee just give us a little bit introduction from Genesis first, so that you guys can get an idea of where this study is kind of headed through this book. And so if you want to open your Bibles first, we're going to be reading from Genesis chapter 4 verses 3 to 16.
Okay.
Thank you, Isaac.
7, right?
3.
Genesis 4:3. Are you reading?
Oh, I thought it was. Okay. So.
Oh, it's Isaac with a high voice.
Oh.
No, it's Kaylee. No, go ahead, Kaylee.
I thought I was reading. I was
Yeah.
sure.
Go ahead,
Okay.
Kaylee.
So, in the course of time, Cain brought some of the fruit of the soil as an offering to the Lord, while Abel brought the best portions of the firstborn of his flock. And the Lord looked with favor on Abel and his offering, but he had no regard for Cain and his offering. So Cain became very angry, and his countenance fell. "Why are you angry?" said the Lord to Cain, "and why has your countenance fallen? If you do what is right, will you not be accepted? But if you refuse to do what is right, sin is crouching at your door. It desires you, but you must master it." Then Cain said to his brother Abel, "Let us go out to the field." And while they were in the field, Cain rose up against his brother Abel and killed him. And the Lord said to Cain, "Where is your brother Abel?" "I don't know," he answered. "Am I my brother's keeper?" "What have you done?" replied the Lord. "The voice of your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. Now you are cursed and banished from the ground, which has opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. When you till the ground, it will no longer yield its produce to you. You will be a fugitive and a wanderer on the earth."
Okay, keep going to 16.
Okay.
Please.
It's scrolling. I'm scrolling, but it's not on the screen. So here,
Okay.
just read it from there.
Okay.
But Cain said to the Lord, "My punishment is greater than I can bear. Behold, this day you have driven me from the face of the earth, and from your face I will be hidden. I will be a fugitive and a wanderer on the earth, and whoever finds me will kill me." "Not so," replied the Lord. "If anyone slays Cain, then Cain will be avenged sevenfold." And the Lord placed a mark on Cain, so that no one who found him would kill him. So Cain went out from the presence of the Lord and settled in the land of Nod, east of Eden.
Okay. Can you read that last line one more time where he settled?
Okay. So Cain went out from the presence of the Lord and settled in the land of Nod, east of Eden.
Okay. Where is the land of Nod? That is a huge question in many people's minds who read this chapter, and I do have some answers. Nod actually is translated as land of wandering, so it doesn't even say a specific place, but according to these guys, to James Charlesworth, who wrote this book, the land of Nod is equivalent to the continent of Mu. And the continent of Mu, as we talked about last time, it's a pretty large continent. I'm going to show you a map in a few minutes. But it's in 3 sections. So I'm thinking, they talk about the west. Whenever they refer to the far west, it would be the land of Mu. But there also is a portion of the land of Mu at the far east, because it says right there in Genesis that it was east of Eden. So there's several sections of this continent of Mu that was sunk thousands of years ago, because the people that lived there were the Cainites, and they were so evil and so wicked that the Most High caused these gas chambers beneath the continent to explode. And basically, like the teaching that Noble did last week about Korah and his family, and they didn't pass go, they didn't collect $200, and they Monopoly, and they went straight to Sheol. And the same thing happened with the Cainites, who were living on this continent at the time. This book says there were 64 million of them, but they were also very good at seafaring people. So it wasn't just in this area that they lived. There's traces of them all the way to Egypt. In fact, as I said last week, if you guys have heard of the Egyptian Book of the Dead, this Book of the Dead is honoring these people from the land of Mu who all died in this huge cataclysm that happened. So basically the land swallowed them up, and there was earthquakes rolling all across the land, and fires, and the land basically swallowed them in this huge chasm. It just ate itself, and now there's just ocean. So there's no trace left except for the Polynesian islands. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and read again about this Narayama, the 7-headed serpent, and this is the symbol of the creator and creation. And keep in mind, this is what the Freemasons believe. All right, this is not truth. This is what they believe. And this is why I believe in Revelation, when this particular creature rises up out of the sea, that they will think it's their god. And that's why they will totally worship the Antichrist. And they will unfortunately pull a lot of people along with them. If you look at the bottom, Nara means the divine one, and this is in their language, which is called Maya or Mayax. Yana means the creator of all things. The Nakals, that's the 7 superlative intellects. Gary Wayne talks about this in his book as the 7 sacred sciences. We see this in our culture. We see traces of this Cainite religion in our culture all over the place. And we also know this as in college as the 7 liberal arts. They just keep changing the name, but it's 7. And then also Vedanta is the 7 mental planes. All right. Then Narayana, the 7-headed intellect, the creator of all things, I don't believe this is what he's writing, throughout the universe, created man and placed within his body a living, imperishable spirit, and man became like Narayana in intellectual power. Then was creation complete. The 7 commands are, without doubt, also indicative of 7 periods of time. A period of time is not measured by any particular number of years. It may mean a day, a year, or millions of years. Thus, these tablets do not assign any particular length of time to creation. It may have taken millions or tens of millions of years to accomplish what was recorded in the tablets. It is merely stated that the earth was created in 7 periods of time, and this is what they believe again, not in 7 days as recorded in the biblical legend. Now, of course, we take the Bible literally. This is what they believe. The general resemblance of the opening part of the Nakal record as regards the story of the creation to the account as found in the Bible is remarkable, and it is also remarkable how great are the divergences thereafter. Legends of the creation are prevalent among peoples throughout the world, and in all instances I have found so much of the material identical that the only conclusion to be drawn is that they are of common origin and their genesis was in Mu. The 7th command was the hardest of all to translate. The actual deciphering was easy, but we found it impossible to find modern words that would convey identically the same meanings as the ancient. For instance, soul or spirit were the nearest words we could find to represent what was put into the body of man. The word living may or may not be exactly what was intended in the original. The word imperishable is, without doubt, absolutely correct. But what does that phrase, after our own fashion, actually mean? Certainly not in our own image. It is in some way refers to mentality and mystic powers, and this is substantiated by the words, endow him with powers to rule the earth. The Bible uses a good symbolical example when it refers to the breath of God. At any rate, it is clear that the meaning is special powers received from God and may therefore be looked upon as a part of God, as a leaf is a part of the tree. Man came from God and must return whence he came. Now look at the screen. This is who they think their God is, okay? So we all know the Ruach HaKodesh is the breath of life given to those who are 100% human. And we know that Cain was not 100% human. So they're trying to cover this up. The Nakal tablets were exceedingly difficult to decipher, there being so many vignettes and tableaux, and so very little hieratic writing. Some of the parts were also so worn and obliterated that we could make nothing of them. Words also appeared for which we could find no equivalent in modern languages. At the commencement of our studies, my priestly friend informed me that it would be impossible to decipher ancient tablets and inscriptions without a knowledge of what he called the Naga Maya language, as all of the ancient writings that have to do with Mu are in this language, and all Nakal writings have an esoteric or hidden meaning, known only to the Nakals and to those whom they taught. To this hidden language he held the key, and after he had taught me its use, it proved a sesame that unlocked for me many strange doors. Okay, so now you will get to see a map. This is from this book in particular. You guys can take a look. This is a rendering by the author of this book. You can see the Polynesian islands here. I'm sorry, I couldn't get it to go straight. So that's why it's tilted a bit. But you can see Hawaii up there in the top and the far, in the northern part of Mu. You can see its boundaries. You can also see Easter Island, the Marquesas Islands, Tahiti, Samoa, Tomatabu, Fiji. What else do they have in there? Panape and Samoa. There's all the Polynesian islands are included, and it makes so much sense that because Polynesian cultures are very similar, and we know this living here in Hawaii. And for those of you that have studied Polynesia, you'll know that they're extremely similar. The languages are extremely similar. And I love this book, not because the author was a Freemason or because of some of the content that just is totally against the Bible, but because it draws together all of the islands, and it explains why they're so similar, even though we're like days, like 5-6 days sailing just from Hawaii to Tahiti on a ship. So this really helped me to understand that. And here you can see what it looks like today. You can see all the islands there. There's the Marshallese Islands. There's now that we know where the island of where the Garden of Eden was located in the Philippines, it makes sense that because Cain was banished east of Eden, you can see the Philippines are located there just a little bit east of where it says Burma in Asia on this map, that little tiny group of islands closer to the shore of China, and south of Japan. Japan is there in the north. It's kind of outlined with really dark writing or dark lines, so you could see that. This kind of just this is the distribution of prehistoric stone remains on the South Sea Islands. Okay, so there's this one. I'm going to move on here to another. Well, I'm going to read this first here. I'm going to read from page 63 now. Throughout the whole length and breadth of the Pacific Ocean are scattered groups of small islands. On scores of them are remains of a great civilization. There are great stone temples, cyclopean stone walls, stone-lined canals, stone-paved roads, and immense stone monoliths and statuary, works that required continental resources and workmen of skill. Yet we now find them not on a great continent, but on tiny specks of land, inhabited by savages and semi-savages. And this is written in the early 1900s, okay? Is anybody in here a savage?
Yes.
Okay. These great ruins appeal alike to both laymen and scientists as being the work of a great past civilization that existed ages ago, about which we know nothing. In attempting to enumerate and describe these remains, I have undertaken a monumental work, for they are so many and so scattered, it is hard to tell where to begin or how to end. It would require many volumes to describe them all instead of a few pages, so that I can give only a mere glance to that which deserves a long and detailed study. My description will be popular, not technical. On many of the islands, the remains are so overgrown with vegetation and covered up with soil, it is difficult to find them. I do not believe that 1/2 of the stone remains on the South Sea Islands are visible. They are covered up, they are overgrown mounds. Another difficulty that the explorer has to contend with is the savage inhabitants. They all appear to have a superstitious dread of going near any of the great ruins. They believe them to be haunted by ghosts and evil spirits, which they call maoli, so that it is next to impossible to get any of them to guide you to these ruins or even to tell you where they are. A good way to discover their whereabouts, however, is to have a native show you over the island, but go your own way and do not follow him. Simply take him along to tell you the best road home. If you are approaching a ruin, he will try to make you go in an opposite direction. Should you persist in going on, when you get near the ruin, he will run away and leave you. So I'm guessing this must have happened to this author because it's very detailed. Then you will know you are close to the object of your search. I will make my start with the remains on Easter Island. They are known better than any of the others. Easter Island is situated at the southeastern extremity of Polynesia, 2,100 miles from the coast of South America. Its greatest length is 13 miles and its greatest width 7 miles. On this little island, all told, there are present 555, I don't know why it would be that number, carved stones, colossal statues, as well as other examples of the art of a great prehistoric race. W.J. Thompson, whom I believe to be the best authority on what is found on Easter Island, says, the largest image is in one of the quarries in an unfinished condition, and it measures 70 feet in height. This is like a 30-foot ceiling in our house here at the highest point. Imagine 70 feet tall, how huge that statue is. The smallest one was found in a cave and was about 3 feet long. The majority of them are from 15 to 18 feet high. It is supposed these images represent distinguished personages and are intended as monuments to their memory. The tops of some of these towering stones are capped with huge spheres, which show red in the distance. Many of these spheres were carved from red igneous rock forming the sides of the now silent volcanoes. Let's see. One of these spheres, which is carved out of a red sandstone, measures 12 feet in diameter. It is to be seen at the quarry. Besides the statuary on Eastern Island, there are several immense platform-like accumulations of cut and dressed stone. These piles are about 30 feet high and from 200 to 300 feet in length. They are awaiting shipment to some other part of the continent for the building of temples and palaces. Near the extinct volcanoes, Rana Roroka and Rana Rao, you might want to show the people in Discord the picture, Isaac. You can have it aimed at the TV instead of at me, that would be good. At the fallen stones lie, they outline a structure of about 100 feet long and 20 feet wide. Walls are still standing 5 feet high and 5 feet thick. Some of the stones of this structure have carved upon them figures, which were the sacred symbols used in the first religion of man. W.J. Thompson says there are in existence about 7 tablets, all that are left of a vast number, bearing the written story of Easter Island. Thompson, with the aid of an old native, the only one on the island that knew the meaning of these glyphs on these tablets, deciphered and translated some of them. Here is Thompson's translation. When this island was first created and became known to our forefathers, the land, now listen to this is what the land looked like when Mu was in existence. The land was crossed with roads, beautifully paved with flat stones. These stones were laid together so nicely that no rough edges were exposed. Coffee trees were growing close together along the borders of the roads. They met overhead and the branches were laced together like muscles. Heke was the builder of the roads, and it was he who sat in the place of honor, where the roads branched away in every direction. In that happy land, that beautiful land where Ramaha formerly lived with his beautiful Hangarva. Taraki used to listen to the voices of the birds and feed them. In that beautiful land governed the gods from heaven, who lived in the waters when it was cold. There, the black and white pointed spider would have mounted to heaven, but he was held back by the bitterness of the cold. Remains of these roads are to be seen on Easter and many other of the South Sea Islands. This is Tablet 2, entitled The Great King. What power has the Great King on land? He has the power to make the plants grow and to change the color of the sky. All hail the power of the Great King, who makes us lenient to the young plants, to admire the different colors of the sky, and to behold the clouds that rise. All hail the power of the Great King, who enables us to appreciate the blessings of bright stars, the lowering clouds, the gentle dew, the falling rain, and the light of the sun and the moon. What power has the Great King on land? He has the power to populate the earth, to create both kings and subjects. All hail to the power of the Great King, who has created the human beings, given authority to kings, and created loyal subjects. He has the power to create the lobsters, white bait, eels, ape fish, and everything in the sea. He has the power to create the mighty fish that swim in deep water. All hail the power of the Great King, who enables us to withstand the attacks of the maggots, flies, worms, fleas, and all manner of insects. A legend tells us the following. This little island had once been a part of a great continent of land, crossed with many roads, beautifully paved with flat stones. The roads were cunningly constructed to represent the plan of the web of the gray and black pointed spider, and no man could discover the beginning or the end thereof. I think this is interesting. How many of you in the mainland or in other countries, especially the United States and Canada, have ever flown over and seen like a hub of a city and then all these roads coming out kind of like a spider? Because I believe that according to this, that originated on the continent of Mu, which were the Cainites, which came from Cain, who built the first city. If you guys know what the name of the first city was that Cain built and named after his son, even Enoch the Evil, not the one that wrote First Enoch, but Enoch the Evil, put it in the chat. I want to see who knows it, because it's a long name, but it does have he named it after his son, so there is the word Enoch in there, E-N-O-C-H. And it's not on the continent of Mu, of course, but it's located in Central America.
You know what it kind of reminds me of is the Star Forts.
Yeah, yeah.
You notice how there's roads all out?
Yeah, exactly. ancient builders of the star forts, I believe, because were the Cainites, because that would only explain, because that they were not able to till the land anymore, right? Things would not grow from them, from the soil, so that's why they became cannibals, and they just were builders. And that carries on to today, because masons, builders, everything is based around their geometry and their building stuff, so that is from this ancient cult religion. Okay, I'm going to continue reading here on page 81. I've never heard of any legends or traditions having been found among the native Australians. After deciphering, and this is for you guys who are Australians, after deciphering and translating the symbols found carved on the stones of the ancient Polynesian remains of the temples and statuary and in the quarries among the unfinished work, I felt at the time that among the South Sea Islands, and especially in the division called Polynesia, traditions might be found that would prove of greatest value in connecting the past civilization of the South Sea Islands with the civilization of a later date, of which we have at least some fragmentary records. The great stone monuments found among the South Sea Islands have always been a puzzle to ethnologists. All have been convinced that a great civilization once existed among the South Sea Islands, and then the shadow of time that was became darkness, the new day, the beginning, as civilization now calls it, dawned thereafter. While I've been able to decipher and explain the meanings of the symbols found among the South Sea Islands, it has fallen to the lot of Frederick O'Brien to have the honor of bringing the world in close touch and sympathy with the islanders and their traditions, and thus drawing back the veil of darkness which has, for so many thousands of years, overshadowed a great race. I'm taking extracts from O'Brien's Mystic Isles of the South Seas, capping each legend with the corresponding biblical legend. Notice they say legend. They use the Bible. There's a reason why the U.S. presidents swear in on the particular King James 1611 Bible, because they do use it, but only for their purposes. And also because it mentions their forefather Cain in there, and which is another reason I think why the Bible is not super clear about where Cain came from. You kind of have to dig in to realize that his father was not Adam. Page 21. Okay, the great god Ra of the Polynesians. So I'm going to go ahead, let's see here. I'll continue a bit. In Ra, we have a connecting link between the Polynesians and our known ancients. Ra was the symbol of the sun, and the sun was the collective symbol of the deity among the Mayas, Quiches, Incas, Hindus, Chaldeans, Babylonians, Assyrians, and Egyptians. So they all had that in common. So Easter Island, these huge stone gods that had been thrown down, some were 37 feet high and had red stone crowns 10 feet in diameter. The Easter Island statuary were not meant as gods. They were statues to be set up elsewhere in memory of some important personage who had passed away. Now, knowing how big these were, that so-called important personage, we know that must have been a huge Nephilim deity. Or entity, I guess I should say, that was probably worshipped. All right. Red circles, red discs, and red spheres have been from the beginning universally throughout the world and among all peoples a sacred symbol. It was a picture of and represented the sun, which in the mother tongue was called Ra. As Ra was the symbol or representative of the great god among the Polynesians, including the people of Easter Island, and as red spheres are one of the pictures or representatives of Ra, it leaves no question for doubt as to the meaning of the great red spheres and the statuary itself. The red spheres in conjunction with the statutes correspond with what we see today in our Christian burial grounds. Okay, now they're bringing this into it with the cross, a figure associated with the Christian cross. The Easter Islanders possessed a complicated religion of the pantheistic character having a triune godhead. The Marquesas. Among the Marquesas and other groups of Polynesian islands, O'Brien has found descendants of the original white race from which the Aryans sprang. Although today these white Polynesians are savages and semi-savages, they are, unquestionably, our distant cousins, having come down from the original white stock. The Marquesans are today one of the handsomest races on earth. The Marquesans and other white Polynesians clear up one of the great mysteries connected with early man and form an unbreakable link which completes the chain, showing from where and how the whole earth was peopled. O'Brien's deductions that they came down from the original white race seems to be more than confirmed by records and traditions found in various parts of the earth: Mexico, Central America, India, and Egypt. There are traditions in Central America and Mexico stating that the first people who inhabited those countries were a white race. The Mayas of Mayax, those who built the great edifices whose ruins now dot the land, were a white race. Temple inscriptions in the Yucatan say they came there from lands that lay to the west of America. Polynesia lies to the west of America. The Guatemalan tradition also shows the white race advancing to the east from America. Hindu records tell us that the central parts of India, the Deccan, were first colonized by a white race called Mayas who came to India via Burma, and that their motherland was one moon's journey toward the rising sun east of Burma. Polynesia lies to the east of Burma. So you can see what I mean. There's part of Mu was to the east of Burma, and part of Mu was to the west of the Americas. This is a conclusive evidence that the original home of the white race was a land that lay geographically between America and Asia. The creation. The Marquesas said that in the beginning there was no light, life, or sound in the world, that a boundless night called Po enveloped everything over which Tanaoa, darkness, and Mutuhe, silence, reigned supreme. Then the god of light separated from Tanaoa, darkness, fought him and drove him away, and confined him to the night. Then the god Ono, which is sound, was evolved from Atea, light, and banished silence. From all this struggle was born Atauana, dawn. Atea, light, married Atauana, dawn, and they created earth, animals, and man. This is not the cosmogony of savages or semi-savages, yet in Polynesia we find it among those who 50 years ago were cannibals. Now 50 years ago, this is like 1903, this book was written, so not that long ago. And I believe that we see this, I'm reading this too because you guys, I'm sure you all know what happened in Maui about a little over a month ago, and how all of the elite kind of swarm in there to like try to build like their new world, their new order smart city. And the reason why is because the elite are all part of this white race that they're talking about. I'm not talking about white like me or like some of you maybe. They call us white. We're talking like paper white, like glowing white, like the Nephilim were, and like I'm sure Cain was when he was born in the book of the Legends of the Jews. It describes Cain coming out as this glowing white thing, and I'm sure it kind of freaked Eve out to have him like be able to stand up and run and pick some grass or something. It's described. So the Nephilim came out like fully formed and ready to go. Like they weren't like normal human babies that have to be nurtured, and they didn't stay in the womb 9 months from what I've read. All right. In the Sandwich Islands of Hawaii, that's another name for it. I'm not sure why. Do you guys ever know why they called us the Sandwich Islands? That's one of my least favorite names for Hawaii because it makes no sense.
Sandwich Islands, Christmas Islands, the islands of weird
Because
names.
there's a lot of sand.
Maybe so. Or maybe because like the Captain Cook and the Masons who came to Hawaii wanted to make sandwiches out of the people that lived here.
Oh.
I don't know.
I think it was the other way around.
They want to make a
Hawaiian
sandwich.
people wanted food, though.
Yeah. Once they realized that didn't have like honorary goals here in Hawaii, they slaughtered him. So yeah. Right, there's tradition that in the beginning there was nothing but water. This is from Hawaiian history. And then a big bird descended from on high and laid an egg in the sea, and the egg burst, and Hawaii came out. It's kind of interesting. This is the cosmogony of the ancients. They all say that water covered the face of the earth and that life started from a cosmic egg laid in the sea. The Samoans have a tradition that in the beginning the whole earth was covered with water. In the mystic isles of the South Sea, most of Polynesia, there are legends of a universal flood from which but few escaped. So they all have that biblical background. Adam and Eve. The Polynesians had very fixed ideas upon the origin of the universe and man. In Hawaii, Ta'aroa made man of red earth and breathed into his nostrils. This is so similar to the biblical account in Genesis. He made woman from man's bones and called her Evie. That's I-V-I. Isn't that cute? And then Cain and Abel. A Tonga tradition states the son of the first man killed his brother. Okay. New Zealand, a tradition of the Maoris, the natives of New Zealand, states the son of the first man killed his brother. Then Fiji is still shown the site where a vast tower was built because the Fijians were curious and wanted to peep into the moon to discover if it was inhabited. It sounds similar to like Tower of Babel. In Tahiti, Ta'aroa, whose name was spelled differently in separate archipelagos, was the father of Tahitian cosmogony. His wife was Hina, the earth, and his son Oro was the ruler of the world. Tane, the Hualine god, was a brother of Oro and his equal. Right? And then there's some mystic forces in their legends. During the time of the Earth's first civilization, many sciences were known which today are not known. They've been lost between the two civilizations. The adepts of the ancients, and they're still called adepts today. In fact, the adepts were known as like the friends of Francis Bacon, who translated the King James Bible. They could walk through fire without being scorched, as related in the Bible and the Popol Vuh. A Tahitian adept walked barefoot on red-hot stones. Does that sound familiar? It's like a Polynesian thing, right?
Yeah.
To like, to become a man, you have to walk across
Through
these,
the fire,
through the hot stones,
Oh.
without being burned. The same thing's been shown in Hawaii, and I have personally, this is a guy writing, I've personally seen it done in Fiji. This is very interesting in Samoa. A few years ago, a report was made that in Samoa, the blind were made to see through their flesh. The report was sneered at by scientists, and the public generally looked upon it as a newspaper story, a traveler's lie. So this is the following from the New York World, reporting from Paris the accomplishment of the same phenomenon. This is a report. Not only have you eyes in the back of your head, you heard that saying before, but your body is simply covered with them, and they can all be used if trained properly. I think they're referring to like nerves. The conclusion is reached by several scientists here who have witnessed experiments by Jules Romain, writer of a book on the subject. They contend that just beneath the skin are ocelles, microscopic organs, related to and united to the central nervous system, and these are dormant eyes. Romain is claimed has succeeded in training a number of persons to use these eyes effectively. They can distinguish colors and read while heavily blindfolded. Isn't that trippy? Some can see with their cheeks and their fingers, some with their noses.
Didn't you have pictures posted with the hands, eyes on the hands?
There were some pictures of the headless guys that had eyes here and their
Yeah.
mouth was like right here. And there's quite a few drawings of people that lived on particular islands that look like that.
That's true.
I think you're thinking that. These results, and this is a test in Samoa, like this is something that actually happened in Samoa and was like scientifically tested. These results, it is asserted, are accomplished after the subject has been placed in a state of great mental concentration, not allied to hypnotism. When the first experiment is not apt to show much result, second tests have shown in some subjects an ability to read playing cards blindfolded after 3 hours of concentration. The ability of the subject, it is said, improves with each succeeding test. Thus, it is now demonstrated the blind can be made to see through the skin, but Samoans practiced it thousands of years ago. All right, so those are kind of interesting facts. I'm going to go on to the next picture here. We're going to look at the Greek alphabet. You've heard of like the Greek gods, the Greek mythology, where they have like all their so-called like gods. They're Nephilim looking. They're just massive white people, basically. We know that those actually, when we went to Greece, Isaac, what did they tell us? They told us, oh, that's not mythology.
Yeah, that actually happened.
That's our history.
Yeah.
Right? So the Greeks, like they don't call it mythology. They said, no, that those people actually lived here. And they have a lot of evidence. Like we saw these ruins of these massive temples, and they weren't like built for people our size for sure. Okay, so we're gonna look at the Greek alphabet here. So you look on the left column that I just put up, you can see all the Greek letters. Note, okay, Kayla, would you mind just reading down that left column and stop when you get to the name of this book? I just think it's so interesting.
Okay. Alpha. All heavy.
Oh, you could just go down the left column.
Oh, alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, iota, kappa, lambda. Mu.
Stop.
Oh.
What is that?
It's just Mu.
That's a letter that the Greeks named after, most likely, the continent of.
Moo.
Okay, keep going, please.
Okay. Mi, Xi, Omicron, Pi,
P or pi.
OP, Rho, Sigma, Tau, Upsilon, Phi, P,
You can say phi or phi.
P, Phi, Pho.
I know.
I'm just kidding.
Be shy.
Chi, Psi, Omega.
Very good. Okay, so we know the New Testament was translated from Greek, and that's just because they kept changing the language, and I believe that ultimately came from like the Cainites, and who became like the people from Mu, who became like the people from Egypt, the Phoenicians. They're all like affiliated with the serpent seed bloodlines, so it makes sense. If you look in the right column, this is the language of Mu, called the Kara Maya, and these are the English meanings. So like there's Al, which is Kaylee was reading as heavy. Kaylee, do you mind reading the right column now?
Yes. Al, heavy. Do I read just the first semicolon, or do I read the entire thing?
I think if you could just read the one in italics, and then everybody else, if you can kind of just read to yourself, so she doesn't have to read all the descriptions.
You'll see some of them are beta. You see the other.
Oh.
Yeah.
Alpha.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Fa.
Okay. Yeah,
Fa.
maybe read the whole thing then.
Okay.
That makes more sense.
Al, heavy. Fa, break. Ba, water. Be, walk. Ta, where. Place. Plain ground. Cam, receive. Ma, mother, earth.
Huh.
Tell, deep, bottom. Ta, where. Ep, obstruct. Zil, make wedges or edges. Anam, whirlwind. Ze, strike. Ta, where, ground. Et, with. Ba, water. Bet, ba, ba.
Yeah, I think so.
Extend, ba, water.
Your guess is as good as mine. Go ahead.
Yo, all that which lives and moves. Ta, where, ground. Ka, sediment, obstruction. Fa, break, obstruct. Lam, submerge. Fe, go, walk. Ta, where, ground. Mu, moo.
Isn't that interesting? That's where
Yeah.
the Greeks got the name. Oh my goodness.
Knee, point, summit, peak. Zai, to rise, to appear over. World. Ik, wind. Lay, place, on, circular. Pi, to place little by little. La, until. O, come. Z, cold. Ik, wind. Ma, earth, mother. Ta, where. U, bottom. Valley.
Sorry.
Abyss. Ooh, abyss. Pa, tank. Z, cold. Lay, place, on, circular. Te, come. B, mud, clay. C, by, mouth opening. Te, come out. Z, vapor. O, there. Mech, whirl. Ka, sediments.
Okay, thank you so much, Kaylee. Good job.
Yay.
I'm going to have you read one more thing if
Yeah,
you don't
yeah.
mind. Look at this now. This is the next page, on page 89 in this book. I just put it up here so you guys could see.
Whoa.
So Kaylee basically read the first column in the left and then the middle column already. So if you look at this free reading, you could kind of see how the Greeks decided on these names and their meanings, because this is the meanings. Just read the whole thing through, and they all relate to each other. And it's kind of like what happened to Mu. So if you can read that, Kaylee. You don't have to stop. You could just start
Just
reading.
the free reading.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to come closer for this.
Okay. Maybe you can switch places with Isaac just temporarily to sit down.
Okay. Heavily break the waters, extending over the plains. They cover the lands in low places where there are obstructions. Shores form and whirlpools strike the earth with water. The waters spread on all that lives and moves. Obstructions give way and submerge in the land of Mu. Peaks only appear above the waters. Whirlwinds blow around them little by little until there comes cold air. Before, where valleys existed, are now abysses, cold depths. In circular places, mud formed. A mouth opens, vapor come forth, and volcanic sediments. Whoa.
Isn't that unreal?
That's
cool. That's how, look at the Greek alphabet, and then we have the Kara Maya, which is almost identical to Greek.
Oh.
And then there's the free reading. So this kind of gives really good evidence. I kind of got chills. But these are like the same people, and they're like all the Cainites, like the Nephilim, the offspring of Cain, the serpent seed people. So thank you so much, Kaylee.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna if you guys want to screenshot this, then you can look at it a little bit more, but I'm gonna go ahead and go on to the next picture. So this is from chapter 6. And also too, I think Noble, he's kind of out. Are you planning to
No,
teach?
he said no.
Okay.
He said no. That's
So if you hear a little bit snoring in the background, it's Noble. He's like kind of knocked out. He hasn't been feeling 100% all this week, so just give him a break today. I'm just gonna keep teaching if that's okay with you guys. I am going to take a quick break after we go over this chapter, and then I'll be back. So we'll read through this. Thank you, Kaylee.
Thank you.
This is chapter 6. This is Mu, the Empire of the Sun. And we read earlier how Ra is the sun god that they worshipped, and they continue to worship the sun deity today. And you can see in a lot of pagan cultures worldwide, you can see how the people of Mu, they traveled all over the place. Like they were really good at building ships and sailing all over the world, and I'm sure they had other like types of really high-tech travel that we don't know about, which is I think the reason for those super smooth roads. Have you ever read the Wizard of Oz? That's what this reminds me of. The Wizard of Oz, there's a whole series of books, and not the first one where it talks about the yellow brick road, but there's a whole series of these books, and one of them it talks about these wheel people. Their entire bodies are just wheels, and it describes these huge stone roads that were so smooth that they could just like go noiselessly back and forth and super fast. And they're describing that, and I think it has a lot to do with Mu. When I was reading this, I was like, that sounds like Oz. So I read that whole series when I was little. I think there's like 10 books in it. So if you get a chance, and if some of you have read it.
You know, the crazy thing is that in Supernatural they had a concept about, they had Dorothy come because she was actually she was a demon hunter.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, so
Whoa.
she actually the Wicked Witch of the Wicked Witch was actually a real witch.
Wow.
And she came from the land of Oz. And they explained how the books were they weren't actually like fairy tale. It was a narration of her father, Dorothy's father, and he wrote all of it as stories to make it, less dramatic or anything like that. But everything that he wrote, he went through.
Oh my goodness.
So
that's trippy.
yeah.
Yeah, that show, Isaac loves that show, Supernatural. Personally, I could only make it through like the first season because it got too traumatic for me. But Isaac was really into it, and it does bring out a lot of truth because Isaac learned a ton from that show, and then just from about like the dark side of things, the shadow government, and
they put it in plain sight. You might as well watch it.
Yeah,
so
yeah, that's true.
Know your enemy, right? So.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so many students of the ancient have noted the fact that the ancient kings and emperors assumed the title Son of the Sun. They have, however, entirely failed to give the reason for these ancient monarchs assuming this title, except that in many instances it is asserted that they claim to be sons of the celestial orb. To find the actual reasons for the assumption of this title, we must go back to the Earth's first empire or kingdom, the Empire of the Sun. So, does anybody put in the comments, Kaylee?
Yeah, Mong just did it.
What
he
was
said, isn't Japan also called Empire of the Sun?
Yes, Japan is also the Empire of the Sun. So Japan was a part of Mu, in my opinion. And they talk about it in the book as being not part of the continent, but like before the flood, there was no oceans, so it would have been
everything was connected.
Can you imagine all those smooth roads that would have covered the entire Earth that are underwater right now? And probably sand over them and stuff too. But even if we go to the beach here, like sometimes I walk in the sand and it just feels like it's so flat. Like the sand is sometimes in some places only like this thick, and you can't even dig your toes in because it's just this solid. It's not the reef or anything. It's just like the bottom of the ocean is just solid flat, and so that would make a lot of sense.
I mean, they're still technically finding. Yeah, I'll read it. They're still technically finding. Like lost civilizations under the ocean.
Oh yeah.
So it's
just
like,
off Japan, actually, Okinawa.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that too. We got a comment from Rolando.
Okay.
He said, when traveling, a good comment to say to the ticket attendant is that you are friends with Dorothy and you may get an upgrade. It only works on the gay.
Okay, thank you.
That was real enough.
Hey, we gotta read the whole thing.
Thank you, Orlando.
See, I wasn't sure because I would fall for that,
We know,
funny.
you just did.
I just did. Oh my gosh, never mind.
Okay, the other question I was going to ask is, remember I asked if anybody in the chat knew what the city was that they named after
Aldeon.
Enoch?
Aldeon called it.
What was it?
Oh, you want to say it, Aldeon?
Are you there, Aldeon? He might be on Discord. If not,
He is.
oh, he is.
I'm here. I just need a minute to
Yeah.
reactivate the,
Yeah.
the
Hi,
machine here.
Aldeon. Good to hear you.
But, Tanakh Tidlon.
Yes, you got it. Right on, right on. Noble will send you a box of macadamia chocolate. Like he always says, right?
Praise Yah Elohim.
Yes.
This is a miracle.
Hallelujah.
Write that down.
Thank you,
Don't cheat
Aldeon.
on.
Oh, who else
Luis.
is there? Oh, hey, what's up, Luis? Right
I
on.
was just repeating what was the name of the place?
Tanakh Tidlon.
And where is that
Okay,
located,
Tenochtitlan,
Aldeon?
in Mexico, you mean?
Yes.
Yes.
And where?
Okay, yeah. What's Mexico City today?
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
Okay.
They're doing. Have you been there, Luis?
My dad took me when we were, oh gosh, I must have been like 10 or 11 to the Aztec temples, and we climbed the Temple of the Moon when they allowed you to do it back then.
Wow, I would
And
love to see
It was
that.
pretty impressive. You can go up to the top of the Temple of the Moon, and you see clear across the valley of the Temple of the Sun. It was an experience.
Wow, and that all that huge architecture you can see in photos, but I would love to see it in person because those are things built by this particular civilization, the Cainites, and especially like Cain, right? And they lived like so much longer, and they're so much bigger than we were, and they were like master builders. Like those are the builders of the pyramids that, along with the fallen angels, like who were their fathers, you know. So it makes sense that they would have that technology because they had a lot of the knowledge from the fallen angels. So thank you guys. I appreciate your input. I'm going to go on here to look at these. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. I'm going to go back because these are labeled for a reason, these little symbols right here. So I'm going to read what the author of this book says. This is the Royal Escutcheon of Mu. Okay, so actually, Isaac, would
I'll
you
read
mind
it.
reading this? It's right here. So just read the letter because it corresponds to the picture up there.
A
So
picture,
read
okay.
A and then read the
Oh,
description.
I've seen that symbol. So if you cut off the box on the top, you know the
Of A?
yeah, an A.
Okay.
It's the symbol in Dragon Ball's Z.
No
where
way.
The wizard takes mind control over people.
No way.
Yeah, I'll show it
Okay,
to you later.
Well, read what it is there.
All right. A. The form of the shield is a conventional letter M. See M. One of the letters
Wow.
in Mu's
Hierarchy.
hieratic
Okay.
hieratic alphabet. It was her symbolical letter. Besides, the letter was her actual name, as the letter M was pronounced Mu, and Mu in the language of Mu. Okay.
So it was a
Okay.
name.
Yeah. Isn't it interesting? What does mu sound like if you put an N on the end?
Moon.
Mun.
Exactly. And all other cultures call the moon something totally different. Like I can't even think of it. What is the moon in like Ilocano, Kaylee? Do you know? Or you could think about it. Oh yeah, there it is.
It's in Dragon Ball Z. Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know the word.
Luna.
for-
Luna is in Spanish, right,
Yeah.
Luis?
Yes, Luna.
Yeah, so it's not moon, it's Luna, right? So, like, whoever came up, all the adepts and whoever they are, the Masons that came up with the English language around the time of the 1611 King James Bible, they put these words in there for a reason, so that we'd be repeating their words constantly. Okay, go ahead, Isaac, with B.
Okay, so B, we can see the little cross, or the little plus sign.
Okay.
It's symbolizes the screwdriver. The hieroglyphical.
Hieroglyphic.
Hieroglyphic. Thank you. Is the central figure in the escutcheon, and reads Ulumil, pronounced Ulumil, which translated is the empire of.
Okay. So if you see that symbol, that's what that is. Okay. And then C.
C is on the top right, is just the circle. The circle enclosing the glyph is a picture of the sun, so that this compound glyph reads the empire of the sun. Then prefix the shield and it is Mu, the empire of the sun.
Okay, and it's interesting because we have this on a lot of government buildings here in Hawaii,
circle?
especially the new ones in Kapolei. If you
Oh,
look
right.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, like
By the library.
Department of da-da-da, and it's got the circle.
Yeah, or they have small circles like
Ah.
around the edges. Like I always thought it was decoration, but it makes more sense now.
Interesting.
Okay, D.
D, the sun has 8 rays symbolizing the 8 cardinal points. The 8 cardinal points, thus saying that the whole earth was dominated by her.
Okay. If you've seen
Whoa.
that particular symbol is also the symbol of Miss Universe.
And that's how they build the star forts.
Oh, yes, exactly.
They look like that.
They do. They really do.
Okay, and then E. Which
Where's
one is
E?
E? I'm guessing it's the middle.
It's I think it's the middle, yes.
Yeah, so that symbol encompasses all those
All of
different
them.
figures. Yeah?
Ah, yes.
And then E, the circle enclosing the rays, is a symbol of the universe. This universe is applied to man, man's universe, the earth. It is thus shown again that her rays, her influence, fall on all mankind.
Okay, thank you, Isaac. Now we're going to go to these symbols. Wait, hold on. I'm going to ask you to read again, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So this is symbols in ancient writings and inscriptions referring to men. Do we have a question?
No, not so far. No.
Okay.
Oh, no. Yeah, Rolando said another theory of the land of Mu because they worship the sacred cow.
I don't know
That's
if
true.
Is that real or? Oh.
Yeah, well, it tied over into Indian culture, like in India. You know how they do not kill cows there?
Yeah.
And that also tied in my former mother-in-law. She would not eat beef, but I think that was part of because of the carabao in the Philippines.
Yeah,
That's
it's
like
sacred.
it's illegal to kill that in the Philippines. I don't know if you knew that.
Oh.
Okay, so Isaac, I'm gonna have you read again. If you can start here.
There's a mic.
Oh, sorry. Start here, and then just read these next 2 pages. Say the letter of each of these little symbols first. Thank you.
So just with the symbol?
Just read the bottom of that first. Wait.
The sun.
No.
Rising sun?
Yeah. See where it says start. Yeah. Read that and then turn the page, and you can read each letter.
The rising sun is the emblem of various nations today, among them being the Japanese, the
See, Monkulas.
Persians, and some of the Central American republics. To differentiate between the rising sun and the setting sun, the ancients were accustomed to depict the rising sun with rays, and the setting sun as a plain disk or orb without rays. After the empire of the sun came to its untimely end, the sun, whenever shown in connection with the motherland, always appears as the setting sun. Symbols representing Mu used in ancient writings. So we'll start with A. A is a Maya
Vignette.
Vignette.
Yeah, the G is silent.
Okay, vignette. Telling of the submersion of Mu, the lands of the West. Monkey, shut up.
Cat. I'm sorry about that. Tammy knows that cat.
Yeah.
Meow. Okay, sorry.
Deciphering and translation. Figure 1. The 3 points on the top of the glyph are Mu's symbolical numeral. Therefore, the writings below refer to Mu. Okay, and then figure 2. I see a lot of ABC, but no figure 1, 2, 3. Okay, I guess I'll just keep going.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
No, but then it's on the next page. So
Yeah. Wait. Let me see if I have. No, I don't have that on my.
no, here,
Okay.
like this. You see, it has figures.
Yeah.
And then it has the letters over here on this side.
Okay. Skip to the letters.
Okay.
And then just do letter A.
Okay, yeah, the free reading.
Yeah.
Okay. Mu of the Empire of the Sun has fallen into an abyss. She is in the region of darkness where the sun never shines upon her. The other lands of the West were blotted out with her. Her crown no longer rules the earth. The form of the hieroglyphic itself is a conventional abyss.
Okay. What Isaac just read is if you look at all these symbols on the page and you go from A to P, all of those symbols read together form that sentence that Isaac just read.
Oh, so it's yeah,
he's gonna
because
break
it's
it down.
hieroglyphics, it's actually saying something.
Yeah, so
Okay.
he's going to break it down. So you can go back to letter A and then
Okay.
skip over
A
back
is
to
a
B.
Maya vignette telling of the submersion of Mu, the lands of the West. Well, I guess I could see that because it looks like it's going into the water.
Right.
B, the hieratic heretic writing reading Mu, lands of the West.
Okay.
Is the motherland's numerical...
C.
Oh, C. Yes, thank you. C is the motherland's numerical, or numeral, 3, assigned to Mu as her numeral symbol.
Okay, so whenever you see 3 of something, like 3 in a row, the Cainites took that and they made it to equal a symbol of their land. So you can see 3 points on the little crown, 3 little circles. Okay.
Okay, D is the heretic letter M of the motherland's alphabet. It is also a geometrical figure. It was Mu's symbol, both alphabetical and geometrical. E is a 3-point geometrical figure and was the symbol used for Mu, showing her geographical position. Okay, sorry, I'm going to look at these too while I'm moving.
Yeah, go ahead.
F is a symbol for Mu after her submersion.
Can you see that? There's like the sun,
Yeah,
and then there's
that's-
like no land. It's just like a chasm.
There's no point either.
Yeah.
G is the same. Sometimes one is used, sometimes the other. Okay. H is the lotus flower in conventional form, the floral symbol for Mu.
What other country is lotus flower?
Oh, I don't know country, but I was thinking Buddhism.
Buddhism, which is what primarily
Japanese.
located?
Japan.
Yeah, lotus flower, right? That was one of the.
Yeah.
And look at it. It looks like a Rosicrucian flower too.
Ah, yes. Oh, good point.
I is a Maya vignette telling of the submersion of the lands of the West. I like that. Vignette.
Mm-hmm.
K is another form of the lotus symbolizing Mu. Let's see. L is the lotus, closed and dead, symbolizing that Mu no longer exists.
Okay.
Okay. M is a lotus bud, used as ornamentation.
Okay.
Okay. N is a Maya vignette telling of the submersion of the land of Kui.
Land of Kui is another name for Mu.
Okay.
It was like a reference.
O is in heretic writing reading land of Kui. P is an Egyptian vignette symbolizing the destruction of Mu.
I think P is very interesting.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
that's
take that
quite-
back. You can see the water in the middle, and if you see that rectangle, you notice that I noticed in architecture here in Hawaii, they have like a lot of these rectangular pools, and they all symbolize Mu when you see that rectangular shape in ancient architecture. And it looks like there's a lot of like swords around it, and either swords or dead lotuses all around the edge
Yeah.
of that, and how it just became like this watery abyss eventually. So I thought that was super interesting. I wanted to share that with you guys. Are you okay to take a short break? I'm gonna just go get some more water, and then we'll come back and we will look at some more symbols of Mu. So we'll see you guys in a few minutes. are. We're going to be looking at some more simple symbols from this book, The Lost Continent of Mu. If you would like to order your copy, because I will be doing at least 1 or 2 more teachings on this in the future, and then if you want to read along with me, I think I paid like a little over $10 for this kind of beat up copy on eBay. But then if you would like a nice leather bound copy, I think I paid like $28 for this one. So it took about 6 weeks to get here though. I'm just really happy it made it. So we're going to look at some simple symbols. Isaac did an awesome job reading about the last one, so I'm actually, let me see. I'm going to describe these. This is page 127 of this book, and these are just like super simple ones, but if you notice, they're very similar to what we learned in geometry, which is one of the 7 sacred sciences taught to Adam, and Adam taught it to his stepson Cain, or his, that was from Eve but not from Adam. And then Cain turned around and used it for evil and taught it to his son Enoch, and it just went down Cain's line and they corrupted the whole thing. But the original 7 sacred sciences taught by the Most High to Adam were also passed down to the line of Seth, and those were used for good. So Cain used his to corrupt the entire earth and to build and resurface the whole earth with these roads and cities. And when the Most High just wanted the people to follow the line of Adam and Seth and farm and grow your own food and raise your families, but Cainites were so much more into like having schools and education and certain curriculums and everybody learning together. I mean, it's just totally different from each other. Okay, so this is page 126. The circle. This is figure 1. The circle is one of the first 3 symbols used in man's religious teachings. Now, when I say religious teachings, we're talking about the Cainites, okay? Because they are truly religious. It was looked upon as the most sacred of all symbols. It was a picture of the sun called Ra, and the collective symbol of all the attributes of the deity. Ra, the sun, was looked upon as the symbol only and not the deity himself. The deity was worshipped, and the symbol was merely used to represent him. The deity was treated with such reverence that his name was never spoken. The Hindus and the Mayas spoke of the deity as the nameless. The circle has no beginning nor has it an end. What more perfect symbol could have been devised or selected to teach an uncultured mind the meaning of infinity and the everlasting? Evidently, the reason for selecting the sun as the emblem of the deity was because it was the most powerful object that came within the sight and reasoning power of primitive man. It well represents the all-powerful, and this is their deity, okay? That serpent, 7-headed serpent we saw at the beginning of the study. The circle is found on the stones of the Polynesian ruins and on the walls of the Temple of Sacred Mysteries. Okay, so figure 1C is red spheres. That's supposed to be red. This is a black and white book, so just picture that as being a red sphere. Mm-hmm. The red spheres found on Easter Island statuary were representative of the sun and were used in ancient times as we use the cross today in connection with the dead. Mm-hmm. So I think you're talking about like putting it on tombstones. In all of the Egyptian symbols connected with the deity, the heads of the figures are crowned with a red disc representing the sun. Egyptian papyrus Anana. Here is an interesting quotation from the Egyptian papyrus, which is dated 1320 BC. Eternity has no end, therefore no beginning. Consequently, eternity is a circle. If we live on, we must continue forever. This is their belief, okay? This is not what I'm teaching here. Just so we know our enemy, we got to know what they believe. And if we continue forever like the circle and eternity, man had no beginning. Man comes into being many times, yet knows nothing of his past lives, and this is why they all believe in like reincarnation. Except occasionally some daydream or a thought carries him back to some circumstance of a previous incarnation. He cannot, however, determine in his mind when or where the circumstance occurred, only that it is something familiar. In the end, however, all of his various pasts will reveal themselves. Okay, so then we have figure 2, the equilateral triangle. The origin and meanings of the equilateral triangle are extremely interesting. The equilateral triangle is one of the first 3 symbols designed for the religious teaching of early man. It dates back more, and this is their numbers again, more than 50,000 years. It was designed to symbolize both a trinity and heaven. Its origin came out of the geographical makeup of the motherland, that's Mu, which consisted of 3 separate areas of land which are geographically called the lands of the West. Apparently, they were supposed to have been emerged at different times, one following the other. To explain this to the then undeveloped minds of the greater part of men, and they still look at us like we have undeveloped minds. Okay. It was taught to him that three separate attributes of the Creator were instrumental in the emerging of the three lands, but only one Creator was involved. The equilateral triangle was selected as a visible figure through which man could see and understand the conception of a triune God. Isn't that interesting that they have this too? These three attributes formed the first Trinity, they even used that word, and were the original conception of a Trinity. A conception which has come down to us through all of these eons of time, can never die, although from age to age its vestments have been changed, and it has been known in different names and guises among different people. In connection with it symbolizing the Trinity, it was used to symbolize heaven. As the triangle symbolized the triune Godhead and God's house was heaven, it naturally followed that where God was, that was heaven. Now remember, their God is that seven-headed serpent, okay? We're not talking about the Most High here. The conception of a triune Godhead has come down to us from our forefathers of 50,000 years ago, and today among many it is held sacred. Okay, enough with the triangle. Number 3, the four-sided square. The four-sided square is the third of what are believed to be the three oldest symbols that were used in the teaching of religion to primitive man. It symbolized the earth. The four corners represented the four cardinal points, north, south, east, and west. At each corner, a keeper was assigned. Okay, now we know, too, that, and these guys know, too, that we do not live on a globe. So when we talk about the four corners of the earth, it is literal corners, all right? That cannot happen on a spinning ball. Okay, the conception has also been brought down to us from early man, for we are not guilty of saying occasionally the four corners of the earth. All of these sacred symbols are found carved on the stones of South Sea Island ruins, also on the walls of the Temple of Sacred Mysteries at Uxmal, Yucatan. This completes the list of the simple sacred symbols. The others are compound symbols with one or more of the foregoing three as the foundation. As we move down through time, they become more complex and complicated, ending with the well-known cosmogonic diagrams, which symbolize the whole of the religious conceptions as they stood at the time. All right, figure 4. You see that with the 3 little dots? It's a triangle with 3 stars, is what it says. The equilateral triangle with 3 stars within the triangle symbolizes heaven with the triune Godhead within. Various peoples had various names for the triune Godhead according to their language. Then we have the triangle with 5 stars in figure 5. The equilateral triangle with 5 stars within the triangle is simply an extension of the triangle with 3 stars. 5 stars symbolize a full Godhead of 5 members. I've been able to find but one mention of the 5 names. There's 5 names of the full Godhead and the attributes they represented, and that was in Egyptian. This symbol, however, is quite common among all ancient peoples, and in many instances its meaning is given without including the names. All right, then we have figure 6, triangle above a square. This is a compound symbol made up of figure 2 and 3 and symbolizes heaven above earth. A very old conception, but one that still remains with us. Above did not refer to altitude, it meant perfection. The perfection of heaven was above that of the earth. And then figure 7, the triangle above the square with 3 stars. This cut is compound of number 3 and 4. It is found at the end of the north room of the Temple of Sacred Mysteries. This was the room of initiation. Does that sound familiar? A room of initiation. Who has that even today? Who are the initiated? The initiated, this is in Masonry. They have like their creepy initiation rituals. Okay, figure 8. The triangle above the square with 5 stars. This is a compound of 3 and 5. It is found on the end of the south room of the Temple of Sacred Mysteries. This was the room where the initiate was raised. From the room of raising, okay, now we're talking about Masonry rituals here. This is like levels 1 to 3, or degrees 1 to 3, okay? Now, initiates are also mentioned as graduates. So, graduation from institutions, especially government institutions, it involves wearing what kind of hat? A graduation hat?
Oh, the flat square hat.
Do you know why?
No. Oh.
And also too, because they look at us as like these lower, the Masons look at us like these lower beings, they're called a mortarboard hat. So, do you know what mortar is?
I think mortar and pestle.
Okay, so there's mortar with an M, mortar. When you're bricklaying, is Brick in the chat by any
Yeah.
chance? Okay, so Brick, if you,
He was earlier, I think.
if he's still there, he can explain exactly what this is. But this is my understanding of it. Mortar is like the stuff that holds the bricks together. And so when the bricklayer is scooping up the mortar, that's why they call it the mortarboard hat. So like the Masons, the cult of the Masons think that they're so high up that they are going to scoop mortar off of our hats and use it to lay their bricks. That's how low they look at. Like we're only worthy of carrying mortar on our heads. So
Wow.
isn't that trippy? Okay. So I'm going to read about figure 8. From the room of raising, the initiate passed on to the central room where he became a master or adept. That's where that word master mason comes in. In the north room, he was initiated into the mysteries of the triune Godhead, and in the south room, he was taught the mysteries of the full Godhead of 5. Okay, so this is Freemasonry. This is not what we believe. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go on to the next picture and the next reading here. Isaac, would you mind helping me out with this one a bit? This is some more symbols. These are not the simple symbols. Well, it's under the simple symbols chapter, but I'm going to have Isaac read through each one. It starts with figures 9. We have 9A. Can you see that? 9A, 9B, and 9C there at the top. Would you mind reading that, Isaac? Okay, so it goes from where the little arrow is, and then where it says stop right here, just stop. And pencil there. Okay. You guys will recognize probably most of these symbols, especially the creepy number 15. Okay, that should look very familiar to you that have dove into like all these rabbit trails about like the Illuminati, about the Masons. I'm probably saying too much. I don't want to get us censored, but okay, go ahead and read, please.
Read. I now come to a series of symbols that followed those shown on page 127. As will be seen, some did not originate in the motherland, although the conceptions came from that source. Figures 9A, 9B, 9C, and 10, the 8 roads to heaven. Oh, it would appear that almost every ancient people had their own idea as to how the 8 roads to heaven should be symbolized. From the Hindu, we learn that the 8 roads were right belief, right speech, right living, right adoration of God, right thought, right action, right exertions, and right meditations. Figure 9A comes from the Central America. 9B, Egypt. 9C is Oriental. And 10 is from the
I'm trying to find the picture out of my
Pueblo.
Oh yeah, Pueblo. Yes.
Pueblo Indians.
That's in like Colorado, New Mexico. Yeah.
Figure 11, the Ka. This symbol appears on a cornice above the lintel to the entrance of the Holy of Holies of the Temple of Sacred Mysteries at Uxmal.
This is not the Holy of Holies that we're talking about from the Most High. This is the counterfeit one.
On this cornice, it is many times repeated. These emblems of mortality were used in ancient religious ceremonies to impress upon the adept what will be his end and the end of us all, and to fix firmly in his mind the necessity of living a life that will bring no terrors when the soul releases itself from the mortal body to pass on into the world beyond. The Egyptian was a reflex of the Maya, so that from Egypt we can get the original ceremonies. In the temple of the Great Pyramid there was found a sarcophagus with the emblems of mortality arranged alongside it. The adept was placed in the sarcophagus to remind him of what he must eventually come to, and when he emerged from the sarcophagus, he was reminded that after his soul left his mortal body, another life awaited him.
Okay, hold on. You know what a sarcophagus is?
Yeah, it's like what they bury them in.
A coffin.
Yeah.
So that's a ritual that still goes on with 322 Skull and Bones Society. In order to be initiated into that society, the initiate has to sleep overnight in a coffin. And it's very creepy. Okay, go ahead, continue,
That
please.
is weird. Hey, isn't that what you were doing with the... Remember you told me about the grave...
Oh, the grave soaking?
Yeah.
No, that wasn't me. I mean, I didn't do that, but that's what
I remember you
Bethel
played
Church.
in a grave.
I what?
Yeah, you were playing in a dugout grave.
Oh, that was in when I was like in
Yeah.
high school.
I
But
remember you told me about that.
No, but Bethel Church, they actually believe that if you lay on top of like a spiritual leader's grave, that you could soak up their entities
Yeah,
from
it's
it.
just, yeah.
It's creepy. I wasn't doing that. Though.
I know you
We were
weren't.
messing around. We were just messing around.
It just reminded me of that.
Yeah, we were like being dumb, but we weren't doing that.
Yeah. Alright, figure 12. Double triangles. A pair of double triangles bound together at their bases was the ancient symbol for an offering. Figure 10. This symbol, beyond showing 8 roads to heaven, is a cosmic diagram. The center is a square, the symbol of the earth. The extension of the sides of those square forms 8 arms, the 8 heads to heaven. Towards the end of each pair of the arms are triangles, the symbol of heaven. Ah, okay. They look like M's too.
Yeah, they do.
Figure 20. This is a Pueblo Indian symbol, and the only one I have ever found of this particular design. The outside triangle symbolizes heaven. The 3 small triangles at the base symbolize the triune Godhead, and the diamond above, the full Godhead.
Which one are you reading about?
20. Bottom right.
Oh, 20. I thought you were talking about the skeleton, number 11.
No.
I was just going to say, there's Skull and Bones right there,
Yeah, right
number
there.
11.
But
okay.
no, yeah, it's 20 on the bottom right.
Okay, number 20. Okay, can you make sure you say the number first?
I did.
Okay, thank you.
After deciphering it,
lost
I
you.
asked
Okay.
the chief if I was right. He told me I was as far as I had gone, but that I had omitted something. The 3 inner triangles have 3 points, which gives the motherland's numeral, which indicates that the origin of the symbol and the people who used it was in Mu. Yeah, because remember earlier they talked about Figure 21. This is one of the most astonishing symbols I have found among the North American Indians. 2 pairs of equilateral triangles interlaced. Interlaced and placed one pair within the other. This is the central figure of the Sri Santara, the cosmic diagram of the Hindus, and conveys identically the same meaning to the Pueblo Indian as it does to the Hindu.
Oh, no wonder I couldn't find it. The writing about these symbols in this book is just a little bit different than that one, so
Oh, okay.
I found it now. Okay.
Alright, figure 16, so the Y. Taking their learning and religious concepts from the Uyghurs.
Oh, yeah.
Uyghurs.
Uyghurs. I love that word. Say that 3 times fast.
Uyghurs.
Uyghur.
Uyghur. A. The Chinese have replaced the equilateral triangle with the figure Y. The Chinese at the time of the Confucius had the great term, the great unit, the great Y. The Y has neither body nor shape. All that has a body and shape was made by that which has no shape. The great term, or the great unit, comprehends 3. 1 is 3, and 3 are 1. Interesting. Alright, figure 17. See that? 2 triangles interlaced within a circle. This is one of the most ancient of compound symbols, originating at an early date in the motherland. It is the most wonderful and far-reaching of all the sacred symbols, and gives proof of the great and advanced civilization of man more than 50,000 years ago. This figure will be deciphered in the following chapter. Alright.
Okay. Thank you, Isaac. We're going to go on to our next figure. Is this interesting?
Yeah.
I thought this was like super interesting, especially because it's like we're living on the land that used to be called Mu, like right here in Hawaii.
Yep.
Okay, we're going to go on to symbols. we're almost near the end of our study for today. This particular symbol is called the first book ever written. And I think I'm sure everybody totally recognizes that hexagram looking thing on the top because it's also on the flag of Israel. They use this quite a bit. I believe too that all these symbols we're seeing so much like in the media. It's like plastered all over like major companies. If you look on wrappers for like major Nabisco or like major companies that are making all of this processed food, or on, I mean, they just seem like they're just rampant. They're like everywhere. So I'm going to read, this is from chapter 9 called Symbols. The cosmic diagram of the land of Mu was the first book ever written by man. And that would make sense, but when it says first book ever written by man, I believe that they think that they wrote the first book because they were the Cainites, and they're not even taking into account like the writings of Adam, which would have been the first book written by man. I have traced this diagram back to more than 35,000 years ago, and there's the thing with the numbers too. I think they try to make it seem like it's a lot older than it actually is. Just how long it has been in use before that, no one can say or even estimate. All of the ancient nations copied the motherland's diagram, the Mayas, and this is like the cultic cultures, the part that the people of Mu or the Cainites influenced to do witchcraft and to do all of the corrupt sacred sciences. The Mayas of Yucatan, the Naga Mayas of India, the Babylonians, the Assyrians, the Egyptians, and the Pueblo Indians of southwestern North America. Only one retained its simple character with its original meanings, the Yucatan Mayas. The rest, except the Pueblos, added figures and introduced dogmas. They gave some of the original figures different meanings, so that the simple and beautiful symbol of the motherland became sadly distorted. This was brought about by the unscrupulous Egyptian priesthood. They first invented the devil. I think that is so wrong. Like, they try to make it like, I mean, Freemasons, they talk and they say that they don't believe the devil exists, but yet because that's their deity. Like, they don't think the devil is evil. So they don't believe that all of the junk they do is even evil. They think it's just like worshiping their deity.
Oh, so it's kind of like how we don't believe in Jesus. Like, we have a different... hear me out. We have a different understanding of him because we're aware he's Yeshua.
Yes.
You know, so like they don't believe in the devil because they don't view him as the way the world does, or
right.
You know, as people of faith do. So,
like when it says Cain was of the wicked one, they don't believe their deity was wicked. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Or if they say he was the wicked one, they twist it. They believe that wickedness is actually good. Isn't that trippy?
Yeah, because in my head, when I hear Jesus, that's when I think they don't know who he is.
Yeah.
Because it's like...
Yeshua. It's Yeshua. Jesus is like a Greek, Latin kind of corruption of the name of Yeshua. But we know that J is not in Hebrew, so that's why. I mean, we grew up, before we knew, we always say, yes, we believe in Jesus. And it's the same person, but we just didn't know. Yeah. We didn't know the different name.
Now we know better.
Now we know, yes. Okay, so only one, and it's interesting, when I say the Yucatan Mayas, we actually have a relative who's from the Yucatan.
Oh.
Isaac and me do. He's married to my cousin Paula.
Oh, yeah.
David.
David.
So they actually have land in the Yucatan. Yeah. Now I would love to ask him all these questions because he was born and raised there. So it's interesting. I'd like to see that. All right, let's see. So now they're saying the Egyptian priesthood first invented the devil. So just take this with a grain of salt. This is just like their history. All right, and we know that their deity is that seven-headed serpent. They had to find an abode for him, so they invented hell. 5,000 years ago, the devil and hell were unknown. Okay, see, all this is just like blatant lies. How many times is the devil mentioned in scripture, right? Okay, the priesthood of India, seeing the effects on the people of these inventions, were quick to follow Set with Shiva. Okay, and we know where Shiva, for those of you that have watched my teaching on where is the Tower of Babel located today, if you haven't watched it, please go into our channel, and I have like a 20-minute teaching of where is the Tower of Babel located today. And they also say it's the abode of Shiva, of the deity Shiva, which is like a demonic thing. Okay, so in Mu, the novice was taught to learn this book thoroughly and to repeat it as his belief in God and hereafter, just as children are taught their Bibles today, so was the child of this lost continent instructed in this book in ancient times. So they have this whole thing memorized. So like their offspring that are running the world today, that's who I believe are on all the thrones, are the people who came from Mu, who were of the serpent seed line. We know that from Esau, from the tribe of Dan. I mean, they corrupted all of the different bloodlines with the serpent seed, right? Okay, so in deciphering this cosmic diagram, it will be seen that there is a central circle enclosed with two interlaced equilateral triangles. That's the hexagram, right? They form one single figure having but one meaning. These two triangles are enclosed within an outer circle, which leaves 12 divisions between the two circles. Again, this outer circle is enclosed within 12 scallops. You see this 12 scallops around the edge?
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Falling from the main figure and downward is a ribbon that has 8 divisions. Okay, what does this remind you of? When you get like prizes at school and everything and you win?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Isn't that creepy? When I saw it, I was like, oh my goodness. All right, we just can't get away from this like cult stuff. Okay. The outer circle symbolizes the intermediate world, the world beyond, the Amenti of the Egyptians. The 12 scallops surrounding the intermediate world symbolize 12 temptations. The soul must prove that it has overcome the 12 earthly temptations before it can enter the 12 gates of the world beyond. Okay, we know all this is a lie. Just know I don't believe this. Let's see. The ribbon falling downward symbolizes that the soul must ascend in order to reach heaven. You guys have heard that. When are you going to ascend? You know, like that's like a new age type of symbology. The ancient meaning of the word ascend as used here did not signify rising to an altitude. It meant to rise to a higher level toward perfection, or like going up the degrees in the ladders of Freemasonry. The ribbon has 8 divisions. These signify the 8 roads that man must traverse before his soul may enter the world beyond. Okay. So, what is that? Okay. I'm going to read one last thing just to kind of end. I don't want to end on that occultic note there. Okay. So, I'm going to scroll through these pretty fast. This is just to compare the symbols we just saw. Well, they're so fresh on our mind. I don't want to show it next time because we'll have to go through all of them again.
I see the Mu symbol.
Yeah. Do you see? Okay. I'm going to just scroll through these kind of fast. These are all modern, so-called modern symbols of Freemasonry. So you'll probably see a lot of symbolic things of Mu within these.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave each one up about 5 seconds, so you can just take a look here. Just see if you see Mu in any of these.
I see it in all of them.
These are all like, they're known by their signs and symbols. You can see all that creepy all-seeing eye. They even love to use the cross just as a mockery.
Everywhere. I just never noticed it until just now.
You can see the Rosicrucian one with that it's actually a lotus flower with the cross on the inside.
Yeah.
You can see the hands making like, you see the Mauna one?
The triangles.
The 2 hands with the Mauna.
Yeah.
Then the checkerboard, there's tons of them. There's some more. You can see, if you look at Baphomet, it's like sideways on its side. I was trying to make it stand up, but then all the rest would be sideways. So turn your head, you can see Baphomet there. Here's some more of the creepy junk with the bricks. They always, and
That's
notice,
all spell work stuff right there.
one of my friends on Instagram is doing really good work where he's finding how celebrities, when they're totally lying about something, they stand in front of a wall of bricks. So notice that in symbology. When you see celebrities on TV or like in pictures or anything, if they're lying about something, they're standing in front of a thing of bricks like this.
Interesting.
Here's
wanna
some more. There's that
add
ribbon.
something to that. Sometimes when celebrities get canceled or they create an apology video, they're usually apologizing in front of bricks
Ah, good
as the
point.
background.
Good
I noticed.
point.
Yeah.
Good point. Okay, there. The top one is the symbol for Lutheranism that I came out of. Praise to Yah. There's that creepy Martin Luther down there and John Calvin. These are some more. I looked up even like Christian so-called symbols.
Of course.
And this is actually the symbol that was on the Pat Robertson channel that was like masquerading as a Christian for many years. This is a Calvary Chapel symbol. Now look at this one. This is actually an owl. Do you see the two? Look at the owl's head that's like in the tail, and then the owl's 2 wings like stretched out like this.
Oh,
And
I
that's-
thought that was an upside down dove.
They claim it is.
Yeah, and if you have a descending dove, that symbolizes Lucifer falling from heaven.
Yeah, and sometimes they show the same picture, but it's a dove on fire, and that's the symbolism.
This is also seen in the symbol of Aleister Crowley, who is kind of a well-known occultist. And there's these.
That's straight spell work.
Oh yeah, you can see Muel in here though too, right?
Yeah, the flower. You see the flower?
Yeah.
The flower that's dying.
And then I didn't go over the Tau symbol, but that T is all over the place. That's like,
And then the plus sign.
Mhm.
And then the T. Interesting.
Oops. Okay. So that's the last picture we have. Thank you guys for hanging in there with me today. Noble will continue his teaching next time, but just remember next weekend we will not have class because we'll be taking our Shabbat week. And don't forget to celebrate the Day of Atonement, however you choose to do that. You can look at Leviticus chapter 16 if you want some hints of what you should be doing. Also, the Feast of Tabernacles is coming up next week. We're going to be camping on the beach, so we're most likely not going to be having Stop the Pain and for sure not class next Saturday. But we will see you guys back in 2 weeks, and we look forward to seeing you then. Thank you so much for joining us today, and big shaloha.
Bye.